the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Good evening to you. I'm Mark Mullins. Thanks for joining us on this night before Election Day.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. WRTV is working for you, bringing you resources and information as you prepare to cast your ballot or as you wait for the votes to be tallied. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow. Marion County voters can vote at any of the 187 vote centers throughout the county. Some notable new sites include Lucas Oil Stadium and Baker's Life Fieldhouse. Voters in any Indiana county can go to indianavoters.in.gov to find their polling place or voting center locations. Wherever you cast your ballot, do not hesitate to ask poll workers for help if you have questions. And please remember to treat them kindly.
I do want to thank all of our election workers that have been at the early voting locations, as well as the election day vote center locations as well. We could not have done this without them, but we still have work to do. We have to get through tomorrow and get all the results uploaded and then continue counting absentee ballots.
For more information, including voter ID requirements and candidate profiles, go to the Vote in 2020 section of our website, WRTV.com.
Making a plan to vote safely has been tougher this year because of the pandemic, but many voters with disabilities are used to thinking ahead. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker spoke to two voters who say work still needs to be done to make sure all registered voters can comfortably cast their ballot.
Jeremy Warner is one of the more than 130,000 people who voted early in Marion County.
Voting has been a really important thing always in my life, but as a result of this, I've made it a point to vote in every election.
An amputee for 15 years after a bad car accident, Jeremy has learned to live in a world that doesn't always accommodate those with disabilities despite protections that are in place. When Jeremy went to vote, he and his family got to the back of the line, but soon after, others in line allowed him, his wife, and stepson to get toward the front.
It was really amazing to feel that support from other people in line who were saying, you need to go up to the building, you need to go around the line and go ahead and go in.
While he's thankful for the kindness of strangers, he wishes there had been clearer directions for those with disabilities at the voting site.
The more that we accommodate our world for people with disabilities, the more that we also open doors for everybody else.
Without the assistance of my family, who had a bit more knowledge on the subject, I don't know how on earth I would have done it.
Var Brindleson is talking about his first time voting. He has arthrogryposis, which impacts the use of his arms. He's unable to use voting machines without help. Although he voted absentee this year, he tells me it's important all polling places make sure they can serve everyone, no matter their physical abilities.
Having what I would say is, more accessible voting stations, so that if you do want to vote in person, even in a time like this, you have that option to, and possibly even having dedicated staff that are there to assist you.
We can achieve the same goals, the goal of voting, the goal of having a voice in our government, through accommodations that allow us to exercise those rights in a different way.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
Americans with disabilities are a big voting bloc this year because of concerns over health care, specifically pre-existing conditions and COVID-19. An Easter Seals survey shows 91% of eligible voters who have a disability do plan to vote.
If you are voting tomorrow, it's a good idea to take a moment and write down or take a picture of one of these phone numbers. A national hotline set up by Protect the Vote is staffed by attorneys with Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under law. As you can see, there are different numbers for different languages. Staffers are ready to help you with any issues you might run into. If your citizenship, criminal record, or other qualifications are questioned, you are encouraged to call the hotline.
Voters in Delaware and Monroe counties are getting conflicting information about casting their ballots, according to a nonpartisan group. The NAACP wrote a letter on Friday to the Indiana Secretary of State asking the office to correct what they call misinformation. The organization says Connie Lawson's office sent an October 9th letter to voters, wrongly instructing people who received a mail-in ballot to contact the Secretary of State's office to verify their application. The NAACP says you do not need need to do that. The group also claims the letter incorrectly instructs voters who received an unwanted absentee ballot to rip it in half and take it to their polling location if they wish to vote in person.
Then for them to receive letters and not knowing, is this the norm? Am I, being singled out? Have I done something wrong because I've never requested? Just a whole host of questions that enter people's mind, and therefore that they may say, okay, well, you know what? I'm just not going to do this. I don't need this, this stress. It's enough stress out here, and decide that they're not going to vote.
The Indiana Secretary of State's office has declined our interview requests on this issue and has not responded to the letter. The NAACP is encouraging anyone who has not cast their ballot yet to go to their polling location on Election Day. If you have an absentee ballot, bring it with you.
If you are voting absentee, your ballot must be in the hands of your local election officials by noon tomorrow. That means if you still have your ballot, you should drop it off in person before that deadline. If you live in Marion County, the Postal Service is also offering extra assistance. Marion County absentee voters can drop off their ballots between 8 to 10 tomorrow morning at the main post office on West South Street in downtown Indianapolis. And if you
do not have a ride, there are some free options. All Indigo fixed route and open door service will be fare free tomorrow from the start of the service until 10 p.m. You can also check out a bike at any Pacers bike share station for free on Election Day with some restrictions. You'll need to use a credit card, and any trip longer than 60 minutes will cost 15 cents per minute. And the organization Go Vote Indy is offering free rides to the polls tomorrow. Availability is limited. You can call this number 317-804-1083 to reserve a ride.
Some businesses in downtown Indianapolis are preparing for possible Election Day destruction. Wooden boards are going up over windows, and some local business owners shared their concerns with WRTV's Cameron Riddle.
With just hours until the polls close at 6 o'clock Tuesday night, businesses downtown spent Monday boarding up windows and preparing for the unexpected.
The fear is that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and we don't know who's going to be upset, and we don't know what they're going to do. And I can't afford to replace another window.
Danielle Cooney is the owner and general manager of Supremacy, the soup shop on Monument Circle. The restaurant was one of several that boarded up Monday afternoon. After seeing her store damaged this summer, Cooney says the cleanup process is not something she wants to go through again.
We were more fortunate than some of our neighbors, but we did have to replace a window back in May.
On the other end of Market Street sits Jack's Donuts. That place was ground zero when windows started to shatter as peaceful protests turned into violence and destruction. Despite being hard hit this summer, owner Chris Carnivus originally had no plans to board up as recently as this morning.
I feel that we shouldn't really have to board up if the city is going to protect us.
The new glass filling the windows of the downtown donut shop cost Carnivus thousands of dollars. With that price tag in mind, while watching neighboring businesses board up, Carnivus changed his mind and says not following suit is a risk he can't take. His store will now get boarded up in the middle of Election Day.
It's cheaper to board up than it is to remodel again and be closed for several days. And who knows how much damage, if there will be any damage, how much they will do this next time around.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
And the business owners say they have been in contact with IMPD and have not been made aware of any threats or planned protests. But as one business owner put it, they'd rather be safe than sorry.
Security measures are also being taken in the nation's capital in anticipation of possible unrest related to the election. Officials have added more fencing to the perimeter of the White House. Part of the metal fence is now covered with protest signs. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden spent this Election Day Eve on the campaign trail. ABC's Andrew Dimbert is in Washington with a look at the dueling last-minute strategies to win voters.
Down in the polls, but boosted by confidence, President Trump is blitzing battleground states in the waning embers of a fiery re-election bid.
This does not look like a second-place finish.
On the eve of the election, Trump swinging through North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, and the electoral crown jewel of Pennsylvania, all states he won in 2016. Former Vice President Joe Biden holds a slim but steady lead in Pennsylvania polls, his campaign blanketing the swing state in a sprint to the finish line.
We're going to win Pennsylvania, and we're going to show the world what America stands for.
We're all here. And this is Biden country, isn't it?
Biden is also hoping to hold those other blue wall Democratic states that collapsed in 2016, where polling shows his ticket is ahead. For Trump, the battle to win Florida presents a possible path to victory for a second term.
I don't know if you know what's happening, but they're very worried, the Democrats, about Florida. They're very concerned.
And as early and mail-in voting shatter records in this election, Trump is doubling down with his message to supporters on his unfounded accusations that the election is being stolen from him.
Especially when you know what goes on in Philadelphia, and it's been going on for years. So, Governor, open up your state, and please don't cheat, Governor. Please don't cheat.
The latest 538 forecast has the president with a 10% chance of beating Biden, his campaign banking on a massive election day turnout, while Biden is turning to suburban voters to make inroads in his efforts to secure the nation's highest office.
Tomorrow we have an opportunity to put an end to a presidency that's divided this nation.
Some 100 million Americans have already cast their ballots, and in some crucial battleground states, the ones that could ultimately decide this election, it could take days to tally up all the votes and certify the election results. But in other battleground states like Florida and Arizona, we could get those results much sooner, perhaps on election night. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
Could the presidential race end in a tie? Coming up, we'll explain the tie-breaking procedure for that unlikely but not unprecedented outcome. And just ahead.
Parents really should be talking to their kids about elections and about the issues and values that really matter to them as a family.
Some education experts say you should be talking to your kids about the election. We explain why and share some of the ways to have those conversations. Kevin.
And it's November, so we need to redefine mild. We'll talk about the specific numbers, and some of the warmest temperatures come this weekend.
Election coverage is everywhere, and kids see it too. So should you talk to them about it? We talked to one education expert from Indiana University who says yes. Dr. Catherine Engebretson is an associate professor of curriculum and instruction at the IU School of Education. She explained to me that it's very important to have these conversations with your kids. By ignoring it, you can create a lot of mystery around elections and around things that matter in their everyday lives. Dr. Engebretson says it's important to have a strong sense of fairness and understanding of things that are important to your kids. She says instead of going into details about what candidates have said, explain how elections help us choose people who make big decisions about things in our lives, like making sure our cars, food, and water are safe. She also encourages talking about issues and values that really matter to your family.
That rich discussion and people asking questions and listening is something that we can teach our children, and they can grow up and do that. And it just makes us all stronger, and it makes us all really understand that ultimately we care about each other, and these elections are a way that we get to help make decisions about how we live our lives. So I would say the most important thing really is to talk to your kids about the elections and to ask them what questions they have.
You can start the conversation by asking your kids some questions like, what do you know about this issue? Do you have any questions about the elections that are happening right now? She also says it is important to teach your kids media literacy at home. Watch the news or read the news together as a family to open up those conversations by letting them ask the questions and offer your perspective and ask if you can help them understand something more.
Well, now to the forecast, and it is shaping up to be a beautiful election day. WRTV Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joining us now with the forecast. Hey, Kevin.
Sunshine and temperatures in the 60s define beautiful for your Tuesday. We'll get into that in a second. Just to show you we're running ahead of schedule, these are the temperature change over the last 24 hours. We're generally 7 to 10 degrees warmer than last night at this time. And you know where we ended up this morning with temperatures in the low to mid 20s. It's 39 in Indianapolis right now, 43 in Muncie. The wind is out of the southwest. That will help us a bit. Temperature staying in the 30s, still a cold start. If you're headed to the polls before work, take a heavier jacket. If you're in the shadows of a building, even during the afternoon when temperatures are climbing, it will be cool, not as windy as what we've had. I want to show you overnight low temperatures that will make progress as well. By the end of the week, low temperatures will be in the upper 40s to low 50s, certainly by the end of the 7-day forecast. A couple of highlights for your election day. Lots of sunshine, temperatures in the 60s, not as windy as what we had today. So those combinations, those factors combining for a nice day. 55 at noon, 62 by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Wind generally around 10 miles per hour out of the southwest. Anywhere in central Indiana, temperatures in the low 60s, a little warmer to the southwest. Will draw in the warmer air over the next few days. You can see we jump on a Wednesday, 66. Thursday, the difference, about the same temperature because we'll have more clouds. Mostly cloudy in the morning, partly cloudy skies in the afternoon. Wind out of the southwest during the day Wednesday will gust over 20 miles per hour. I'll mention just about the entire country tomorrow will have a nice weather day. There are going to be no major weather issues across the U.S. that would impact voting. Temperatures, they'll be in the mid to upper 60s. As we move beyond, there's your hourly forecast for Wednesday, which includes lots of sunshine once again. Thursday, 66, and then you'll see Friday, temperature upper 60s. If you're wanting 70 degrees, you'll find it. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday should be at 70 or above. Right now, Sunday looks to be the warmest at 72, and overnight temperatures back into the 50s. Beyond the 7-day forecast, indications are we'll continue with above average temperatures, but bring back a chance for rain, something that's missing over the next 7 days. Amanda?
Definitely something to look forward to this weekend. Thank you, Kevin. A record number of people have already voted in Indiana, more than 1.75 million, according to the Secretary of State's office. And tonight we are providing some perspective on that information. The majority of those votes were cast in person. About 500,000 were mail-in ballots. That's about 2/3 of the total number of people who voted in the 2016 presidential election. As we show you how the totals by county compared to 2016, you may be wondering how the huge early voting turnout impacts the timeline of election night results. Each county clerk's office counts their own votes. The Marion County Clerk's office says they only have the ability to count up to 40,000 absentee ballots per day. So far, 82,000 ballots have been received. So that's at least 2 days alone in Marion County. Experts say Indiana will know its winners fairly soon, but it will not be until the next day at least.
The road to the White House goes through the Electoral College. So what if the candidates tie? Well, it's unlikely. It's not impossible. Scripps political correspondent Joe St. George explains the tie-breaking process.
Take a look at this map. If this happens, which is theoretically possible, Joe Biden and President Trump would both end up with 269 Electoral College votes. To find out what happens next, you have to stop focusing on the White House and start focusing on Congress, where according to the Constitution, the new House of Representatives that is sworn in January would decide who is president. The Senate would pick the vice president.
There ain't no light at the tunnel for you in the House of Representatives.
Now, just because Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats are projected to be in charge of the House again doesn't mean Joe Biden will automatically win. These are the rules for breaking a tie for president. Each state delegation in the House of Representatives gets one vote based on an agreement worked out between representatives in each state. California may be the largest state in terms of population, but it only gets one vote. Wyoming is the smallest state in terms of population, and it also gets one vote. Republicans currently control 26 House delegations. Democrats control 22. The others are tied. If the next Congress looks like the current Congress, well, President Trump would win re-election. Of course, all of this is extremely unlikely, but again, it is possible, and it is 2020. Remember, Thomas Jefferson became president in 1801. because of a tie. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
As of this morning, a limited number of tickets for Sunday's Colts game against the Ravens were still available. The big matchup at Lucas Oil Stadium comes after a solid win on the road. WRTV's Brad Brown shows how the Colts are trending in the right direction.
While we all flipped the calendar to November, the Colts tumbled their way into a big win in Detroit, with running back Nyheim Hines leading the charge.
I've seen him do that a number of times, so I don't have any problem with it. We like our guys showing emotion when they're celebrating. They got to do their thing. So I trust Nyheim to display his emotions the way he feels, the way he wants to.
Hines' backflip after his first touchdown lit up social media. It also lit up the Colts offense to the tune of 20 points in the second quarter.
Unbelievable athlete, obviously what he does in the kicking game and as a runner and a receiver. So certainly glad he's on our side.
Nyheim got a second chance to stick the landing with another long TD toss from Phillip Rivers. Dynamic plays like that are becoming more of a regular thing.
Running the ball, it's important, and I think we did a decent job today. And Frank kept calling it even when things weren't going well. And then we started hitting some big plays.
Hines has a strong running buddy in the backfield as well. Jordan Wilkins ran for 89 yards Sunday in Detroit, more than the previous 6 games combined. His touchdown and 2-point conversion padded the Colts' fourth quarter lead.
Being in the same team for a couple years now, obviously, especially in the same room, you're going to grow a lot of chemistry and go close to each other. Obviously, we came in at the same class, so we knew each other at the combine a little bit, and just coming in working each and every day.
Yeah, you can't count the plays; you have to make them count. And as long as you keep doing that, hopefully you'll keep a job. And Jordan made the most of those opportunities today. I like to think I did that too, but we're not perfect. We had some plays where we can get better on, and obviously we're going to take the coaching. It was a great game, but we got to get better and get ready for our next game.
Then there's the continued evolution of the Colts passing game. Phillip Rivers completed 23 passes in Detroit, but he hit 11 different receivers. The Indy offense is becoming more difficult to plan for as each week passes.
Sometimes they come up just how you call them, and then other times they don't, and you end up getting to the third, fourth, fifth guy. But when they do their job and the guys up front protect, it allows for that ball to kind of go anywhere. And I do think that makes it tougher for the defense to favor, one guy or double one guy.
We have a great group of guys that love working together. So the camaraderie between all of us is great. And, we just love to work, and, we think we're hitting our stride, at the right time, but we still haven't, put a full 60-minute game together yet. So we're working on doing that.
The Colts normally have Monday as their mandated day off during the week. Head coach Frank Reich has moved that to Tuesday this week for Election Day. The Colts and the NFL have been promoting Get Out the Vote campaigns. Before the next home game, Lucas Oil Stadium will serve as the largest polling site in Marion County. As for that next game, it's the Colts and the Ravens, both teams with 5-2 records, coming up on Sunday. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
And another reminder, you can find Election Day resources and information in the Vote in 2020 section of our website, WRTV.com. That includes where to find a polling place, answers to frequently asked questions, and candidate profiles. Kevin?
If your question is about the weather tomorrow, here's your answer. We're in good shape. Shouldn't be any issues. Temperature by the time we get to noon in the upper 50s, 62 for the afternoon high, and not as windy. Mark?
All right, and thank you for joining us. A reminder, join us for Election Day Live tomorrow. Hey, GMI head your way at 4:30. Have a good night.